Welcome, welcome. It's June 18th at 4 o'clock on the West Coast. That means it's 7 o'clock on the East Coast. I'm John, and Murph, you have two names
I'm Murph.
today.
I am Murph. Yeah,
Murph,
well,
Murph.
that's my login somewhere.
Oh, okay. Murph squared.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, hey, welcome to the TSG live Talking Trains show. And thanks for joining us again here, Murph, as the super co host guy. And
Thank you.
we're going to have some fun today because we're going to be, well, a couple things. We're going to be talking to Sparky 107107 once again about his YouTube meet and greet. And then we have a special guest, Irwin Nathanson, who had a really cool model railroad layout in his home in upstate New York. It's no longer around, but luckily, Irwin was able to document it before he tore it out and moved out here to California. And so we're going to have him share this pretty remarkable layout. I don't want to give away, any spoilers here, but I will say that it's HO scale, if I remember right. And he has some really interesting, almost, I'm going to call them toy train elements to it. And it's just really cool. So I think people will enjoy that. I had heard about the layout back during the national convention that we did virtually online. I think that was in 2021. And I remember when I saw it the first time, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then this past, I think March or April, we were at the PCR convention in San Luis Obispo, where Sydney and I were doing the virtual event. And Irwin was going to give this presentation, and something happened where the internet stopped working at the venue. And we waited and waited, and Irwin waited and waited, and the internet didn't come back. And so he finally had to get home for something. And so, of course, not too long after he went home, the internet did come back, but it was already past the time when he, could have presented it anyway. So how are things in Boulder Creek, Murph?
Well, they're rather hot outside, but it's really nice in here down in my basement. So everything's good.
Yeah, you're like the one guy in California that has a basement.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a good place for trains.
Sure. Speaking of basements, I have Dave in the basement waiting to come up on the show. So let's bring him up. Oh,
hey.
Hey, welcome.
I got so excited there when you said you got a special guest, and I'm like, oh, that's got to be me. It's got to be. And then you said somebody else, and I'm like,
no, you're special, but you're not the special guest. You're special in a different way.
Yeah, well, that's what my mom used to say too.
Yeah, well, she wanted to make sure that you knew that all the kids ride that short bus.
Window liquor.
Or the flagpole liquor on those really cold days up there in Canada, eh?
Never a cold day in Canada, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, never a cold day.
In case you don't wear shorts, that's all.
Oh, I see. So anyway, we want to talk about the YouTube meet and greet again. And for those of you who are hearing this for the first time ever, why don't you tell people what the YouTube meet and greet is?
Well, that's exactly what it sounds like. YouTube meet and greet, like we said this last month too, and say it again. We all sit here and get to meet each other in YouTube land, talk in the chat, and get to know each other. And I got to the point, I just wanted to take a holiday, did it down in the States, told everybody where I was going, and people showed up. So I started calling it the YouTube meet and greet because with the names of Canadian Locomotive Logistics, Bernard C, TSG, Murph, which is a great name there, Murph.
Thank you. I couldn't get Murph.
Yeah, everybody can get together. We all get to put faces to the names. And it's like meeting old friends that have been lost for a little bit. Is one way to kind of explain it, but it just gets the whole group of people together, train related, make a holiday out of it type thing. And you get to travel a little bit. Some people don't travel very much. And then you say, hey, let's all get together at, let's say, Ontario.
Yeah. Be a great place to go see.
I've never been to Canada.
Hey,
Yeah, I haven't. No, I would like to though. And if things were different, and maybe if lodging and travel had not so expensive, I'd probably be going this time. But things are going on that make it less. I don't know what's the word for it. Carefree, I suppose, to travel these days. So.
Well, it's still not that bad. Like you hear horror stories every once in a while about some people traveling, but I think your name's got to be on a list to get kind of a hard time at the border still.
My name probably is on the list. Well, I mean, look at this company I keep. Jeez, you guys.
Yeah, I keep coming back too.
Right?
only to see what we're up to next.
Yeah, right?
Really curiosity.
Really, Murph, I don't want to meet you. I want to meet the chef.
Everybody wants to meet the chef.
Yeah. And that's a bit of an inside joke for some of the people in the chat, I think. But
yeah. So it looks like Darren's offering to put me up. I didn't even know. Well, maybe next time.
There you go.
Canadian Locomotive Logistics.
Yeah, you got about a 2.5 day drive between you and Sydney. So
2.5 day drive. You mean?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, if you did it nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that crazy. Jeez. What I would do is I would fly up to, Buffalo or something and then drive in.
That's the best way to do it too.
Yeah.
I will say that even when I go places in the States and I got to fly, I'll drive down to Buffalo and take a flight from there. So.
Oh, interesting. Huh?
Yeah.
So
it's it's cheaper, and B, the customs that you got to deal with is completely different. Like internal flights for Americans, right? Going to Buffalo, there's no customs or nothing.
Right.
And you cross in a car coming up here, customs, like I said, unless your name's on a flag list or something, they're just going to ask you basic questions and you're going to be on your way. So
there's a place in between the state border when you come over the Sierra Mountains into California, where it's like this check point, right? With all these lanes, almost like a toll booth, a toll plaza. And I've never been stopped for real where they're like, okay, we need to look in your car or something, but you drive up and the person just asks you if you have any fruit. Because we had a real problem with fruit flies.
Actually, it's vegetables. Yeah.
Is it vegetables? The point is they ask you if you have any kind of produce, right? Stuff like that, because we had fruit flies. And I don't know if people realize this, but in California, agriculture is a huge part of our economy. And so they're protecting the agriculture as part of our economy by making sure people don't bring parasites in on fruit that they bought one state over. Well, I mean, I've never, like, people, you drive up and they just wave you through. It's like it shouldn't even be there. Is that what customs is like in a car on the border?
Yeah, basically that's what it is. Like I said, you pull up, they're going to ask you a couple of questions. Yes, produce is one, fruits, vegetables, seeds, handguns, or any firearms, because in Canada we can't just carry firearms. So do not bring those across the border. I'll tell you that right now, because you will not be coming across.
Right.
Yeah, and that's basically about it. And then when you go home, they're going to ask you kind of the same questions. And did you buy anything? So
did you bring any model trains across the border?
Yeah.
Did you visit Rapido?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
yeah. So let's bring up this graphic. I think there's more information on it, right, that we can talk about.
There's a little bit of information on that. Basically, what it starts down. I can break it down. Ontario Southland Railway in the bottom left is where we're going to start 4:00 on the Friday. So it gives people to get into the hotel. And I've got information on my YouTube channel there about hotels and what we're doing and everything else. So just go to my channel. You'll find the whole list.
And your channel is Sparky 107.
Yep, right there in the red there. So 4:00, like I said, we're going to start the tour Ontario Southland. We can provide transportation for a few people. I'm sure a few people will rent cars that are coming up too and stuff like that. And there's going to be a guest speaker at this one. His name's Larry Broadbent. He has worked for the New York Central, Conrail, London Port Stanley Railway. He's worked at the GM plant building locomotives for GE. This guy's going to be a fantastic talk. And I can't wait personally to meet him. Like, I've known him on Facebook, I've known him on YouTube for years, and to actually meet this guy, I am just drooling. Like, this guy's going to be such a fountain of information for this local area in the history of railroading. So that's one definitely not to miss. And like I said, that's Friday at 4:00. And then after that, Ontario Valley Railroad, or Otter Valley Railroad, sorry. Wow, I screwed that up. Sorry, Lauren.
Sorry, boys.
Yeah, but we're going to go over to the model train store and just hang out for a bit, shoot the crap, buy some models if you want. But yeah, we're going to have some pizza, food, drinks, stuff like that, and just kind of hang out. After that, people are more than welcome to come back to my layout every night if they want, kind of a base of operations, right? So run the layout, see what St. Thomas is like on my layout, because I've got a model of the station that you can kind of see in that picture there. My model's 5 feet long. The station itself is probably about 250 feet long. We'll get a tour of that, the museum. This is all on Saturday morning at 9:00. And there's the thing called a BX tower, which I think is something like what you had one of your first live streams in, one of those switching towers.
Yeah, we were there.
Yeah, so we're going to go to one of those here. And then after that, Waterloo Central Railway starts at about 2:00. That's going to be a train ride with them. Then we're going over to their shops, getting a kind of like a guided tour through their shops, their rail yards. They got RDCs in there, a few cabooses, some Christmas train stuff that's all decorated up. Then after that, they've got a dining car all decked out for us that I've had to book. And it's good for 42 people. Dinner on a train, that's one thing. I've done that. But what I haven't done is having dinner on a train that's moving. So this is a 2-hour trip on a train, eating very fine dining type food, you name it, but going like through the bushes, over bridges. I don't know how to explain something like that. It's not a vintage car, but it's not new either. So that's something I'm really excited about for the Saturday for sure. Again, on my channel, gives all the information and stuff like that. You want to book it. 42 seats are available for the dining car. 24 of those seats are gone already. So I have 20, less than, I've got 18. Do the math, dummy.
Yep, 18.
So, 18 seats left and 2 months to go, because this is at the end of August 22nd to 24th.
Oh, that's only a month away.
2 months, right?
No? Oh, 2 months. Yeah.
We're in June.
Math isn't good for me either.
Don't scare me like that.
Sorry.
Now I got to sell my tickets. Hurry up. So bringing us to the 24th, though, we're going to start in Toronto. We're going to go to Mini Prints, meet Dr. Mini Bernard, the creator of miniprints.com.
We love Bernard.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And after that, we're going to go down, do some rail fanning on the Canadian, which is the passenger train that goes from Toronto to British Columbia, Vancouver. It's, I don't know, 11, 16 cars long. It's just, it's iconic to watch it go by. From there, we're going to go to a place called Miniature Wonderland, I believe. And what that place is Canada in 1/87th scale. So you go down and you start in one spot and you just walk all the way through it. And we're working on half price tickets for that. So right now it's about $43 to get in. We do it through the group, it's going to be close to 20. So
nice.
And there's one more event that Bernard's working on, but he hasn't disclosed it yet. So
And if Bernard's working on it, it could be anything.
He's not sure if we're going to do a major layout tour of one of the clubs that's in the Toronto area, or if we're going to go down to the Toronto Railway Museum, which is okay. But if we can get in, what that is a big roundhouse that used to be in downtown Toronto. And they've got 2 of the stalls open to the public right now, but they have another 6 stalls that are closed to the public. And that's what we want to get into.
Oh, nice.
So they've got some locomotives, steam locomotives, cranes, other rolling stock, and things in there that they're restoring, but it's not open to the public. So if we can get in those doors, and we're trying really hard to do that. So
right on. All right. Well, we'll make the graphic go away now.
Awesome.
So yeah, So everybody watching, please get more information from Sparky's YouTube channel because you have video updates all the time on this, right?
And I'll be posting one this weekend too.
Perfect.
Cool. But yeah, at the meet and greets, firsthand, you've been to them too. There's always something that's a little over the top that you can't just do as a general public. So it's one thing to go to a museum or something and kind of look around, but if you can get a guided tour and some of the back shop type stuff for what's behind closed door number 1 and 2, it's amazing. And that's what I work on when it comes to the YouTube meet and greets, is going above and beyond what you think you're about to get. So,
right. Cool. Right on. Well, I'm excited for you. I mean, like I said, I wish I could be there, but it isn't going to happen this time. So
I get talking about it. And I got to remember to breathe.
Well, make sure you take lots of videos and say hi to the people I know, like Bernard. And yeah, sounds like a great time. Hope that a lot of people can come.
Yeah, we're working on it. So, like I said, 18 spots left just for that dining car experience. So,
right on.
And that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again. And if you're interested and able and available, certainly you can come on again next month because we'll have one more month. See what I did there? I fixed myself.
I don't mind hanging out with you and Murph for a little bit. So
yeah, cool.
We can probably do it one more time. So
okay, sounds like a plan. Then we will
next month. Can I be the special guest?
You're already special. I told you.
Well, speaking of that, maybe you should get to your special guest.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. We'll talk to you
later. See everybody August 22nd to 24th. So
got it.
All right.
All right. Take care, man.
See you guys later.
All right. Bye.
Catch you later.
Okay. You didn't ask enough questions, Murph.
It seemed you were talking enough. So it was all good.
Are you telling me?
Okay.
You tell me I talk too much, huh?
Yeah. Well, I can't nudge you like I do over your place.
Yeah. Right. You see me going like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As John gets bumped out of frame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to be careful nudging because you don't know your own strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's bring Irwin on. I was mentioning before, here comes Irwin. Hello, Irwin. Welcome.
Good.
Hi, Irwin.
Welcome and thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased that you're able to do this in lieu of presenting at the PCR convention. And I apologize again. I'm not even sure we ever found out why the internet was off.
Well, I talked to Bruce last night. He said he thinks somebody just turned the switch off, and that's all it was.
Really?
Yeah. And I actually did give this in person 2 days prior to Saturday. So this was going to be my second presentation virtual. I already did the in person. So
nice. Well, I guess we can bring it up then.
Okay, so I'm going to put my PowerPoint on. Make sure that you see it.
I can see it I can see it down there. Before we do that, is there anything you'd like to say about your layout before we get into the main presentation here?
Well, just that you'll see this is the history of what it looked like with an epilogue of what happened to it. But the presentation will speak for itself, and this gives you a quick bio who I am. I've been modeling trains since I had, of course, a layout when I was a kid. In my case, it wasn't the layout under the Christmas tree. I got mine for Hanukkah, but otherwise it was the same thing. And then got back into model railroading when my kids were little, and we played with it a little bit. Then it went away when they grew up, and then I started playing trains again pretty much when I largely retired in 2005.
Nice.
And I've been very active in the NMRA, at least on the East Coast, where I was a board member of the Northeastern region, and I was president and vice president of the Hudson Berkshire division for several years, a very active division upstate New York.
Were you one of those dads, though, Irwin, that bought the train set for yourself, but then you said it was for the kids so that you could play?
Yeah, but they were into it when we were living in New Jersey for a while, but then they grew up and I got busy and nothing really happened until I pretty much retired and really got into it.
Yeah, I think every dad that gets the train set for the kids is really getting the train set for himself. That seems to be a common theme. So what we're going to do here is I'll bring the presentation up, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to type them in our text chat like we usually do. Murph, you also have a microphone, so if you get a question, just blurt it out. Wait until he takes a breath, though. Don't just do what you normally do and just say it.
Well, and I can't nudge him either. So I'll try not to.
There's no e-nudging on a call like this or a meeting like this. So here we're going to bring this up, and let me just make sure. What does it say? It's giving me before presenting a screen, remove other media streams. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. It's not allowing me to add you. Let me see if this is how to do it. Oh, I see. It's because this is still here. Duh. Let's try this. Here we go. Okay, Irwin, you're on. So
you can see my PowerPoint.
We can see your PowerPoint now. Thank you.
Okay, so let's get into this. Takes about 45 minutes, give and take, depending on the questions.
Okay.
So the name of the railroads, plural, was Diamond Point Railroads. So let's see where Diamond Point is. So first of all, when people think of New York, they think of New York City. In fact, specifically, they think of Manhattan. New York City has 5 boroughs. Manhattan is just 1. But anyway, New York is a very large state, very rural once you get out of the New York City area. We lived in Lake George in the Adirondack Mountains, 6 million acres. Lake George itself was a mile from our house, 32 miles long of pure, pristine water. And it's not a reservoir of a dammed river. It was formed in the Ice Age. If you look at the Finger Lakes to the west, you can see everything runs north and south, and that's how the glaciers went. So that's where Diamond Point is, about an hour and a half south of the Canadian border. And we're only 2.5 hours from Montreal. In fact, that was the largest, most sophisticated nearby city, and we would go there to go to IKEA and to go to some nice restaurants and museums and botanical gardens. So that's where Diamond Point is. And just to give you a quick overview of the layout, it was about 25 feet long, 16 feet wide. When we bought the house in 2000, we added a big add-on to the house, and part of that was a purpose-built basement for the train layout. So it was carpeted, drop ceiling, dry walls. It was beautiful, and it was basically a walk-in layout. You can see it here. I had, again, 3 countries. You've got German HO, British 00, which is 1 to 76 scale, so it's physically 10% larger than HO, but it runs on normal HO track, normal electrics and electronics. So you had UK here, and then over here with the United States. And each layout was pretty much independent, but you could go across the special relationship bridge. Can you see my cursor moving?
Yes, sure can.
Okay.
It's a little small, but it is there.
Okay, so you could go across the special relationship bridge, tootle around the United States, go across the lift-out bridge down here, tootle around Germany, go underneath the channel, which in my world connected Germany with the UK, come out in the UK again. So you could go all around the room, and you could go around each layout. You had 2 main lines in the US, 2 main lines in Germany, but I could only fit 1 in the UK, which after all is smaller than Germany or the US. And I had 1 big Y here. And then underneath Germany, there was a helix here and a helix there, which went down to a big staging yard underneath. But it was never really practical. I didn't really design it well. The incline was too steep, and nothing could go up without helper from the big hand of God. Another lesson learned is there were choke points where it would be difficult for people to pass each other. Another lesson learned. And another one was that none of these tracks over here were accessible. I had to make a cutout here. I'll go back. I had to put some cutouts here, hide buildings on top. And when I needed to get to trains that might have derailed here, I'd have to crawl underneath, stick my hand up here and grab the locomotives. Luckily, the track work was pretty good, and I did not need to do that too often.
There's a question
Sure.
from the audience. that I think you said this, but I think the person missed it. You said that all the track was basically HO scale standard gauge track, right?
I said it was normal HO, and actually mine was code 100 because especially my British locos being 10%, all my British rolling stock being 10% than American or German HO, the wheel flanges were slightly bigger. So I think it would run a lot better on code 100 than code 83, for example.
Right. So the point is that the track around the entire layout was the same size, but one of the countries, I think you said it was Britain, had a slightly larger scale, right? So
for the rolling stock.
Yeah. So did it look like narrow gauge when it was on the?
No, it was such a slight difference you couldn't tell. You would have to take a British, let's say, Flying Scotsman, very famous steam locomotive, and put it next to a HO Flying Scotsman to see the difference. If you just took any British steam loco and put it next to any American steam loco, you couldn't tell it the scale was different.
Okay.
Okay, did that answer the question?
I think it did. Bernard C. will let us know if that cleared it up.
Okay.
Please proceed, sir.
All right, so we'll continue. So this was just, I won't read this to everybody, but again, it was 3 separate but interconnected railroads. I talk about the scale here. It was very roughly transition era between steam and diesel. But, you know, if I saw something I really liked, I still got it. But I never got anything that was really modern. It ran on DCC and the NC ProCab wireless. I had as many as 6 sound locos running at one time and never had a problem. It was 5 amp. Again, it was steam, diesel, and electric. Most of my U.S. locos were Athearn, Broadway Limited, MTH, of course, no longer in production. Bachmann, Spectrum, and Walters. From Germany, Fleischmann, Rocco, Trix, Bawa, ESU. I think everybody knows ESU for the sound decoders and other really high-end decoders, but they also do make some rolling stock. They don't sell it in the U.S. Anything I got in Europe. And in the UK, Hornby, Bachmann, Helgen, Dappel, Helgen is from Denmark. We all know Bachmann here in the United States, but I don't know if everybody knows that it's owned by a Chinese company called Kadar, and they have Bachmann Europe, which is British trains. They have Bachmann US, of course, which we all know, and they also have Lilliput, which is German outlined, but it's all the same group now. Most of my locomotives had sound decoders. As you'll see later, I've sold 75%, 75% of my locomotives. I still have a nice little collection in display cases in my office here. And there was a lot of animation all over the place. And you'll see some of that in the videos. And why Europe? We lived in England from 2005 to 2006. I was the only American working at a British company. I was one of the directors. We loved it, but it was time to go home. And I've also been to Germany countless times on business and on vacation. And so while living in England, I started collecting my European items, and I built a small 4x8 layout in a very small garage we had just to keep busy and learn some modeling skills. So that's where we got to be 3 different countries. And people that saw my layout were always interested in this. For every one of my locomotives, again, most of them had sound, 95%. I created these instruction sheets so you could see what the different functions did, especially useful when you got into some of the newer locos, which had up to 28 functions. And if anybody watching wants me to send them some samples in editable format, I'd be happy to do that. My email address is at the back of this presentation. So it wasn't until I went back to Miniature Wonderland in Hamburg that I realized that where my real inspiration came for this layout. And it was when I went back the second time, and it was an aha moment, like, wow, that's where it's inspired. And if anybody hasn't heard of Miniature Wonderland, just Google it and take a look. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's the largest model railroad in the world. It's growing all the time. And Hamburg is a marvelous city with all sorts of things to do. This is the #1 tourist attraction. And the vast majority of people who go are regular tourists, not model train fans. And that's where my inspiration came from.
Nice.
So we're going to take a look at a video now. I'll point out some things as we go along, and I'll maybe pause it a couple times. And John, if the volume isn't loud enough, just tell me and I'll crank it up on my speaker here, okay?
Okay, I'll let you know.
All right, here we go. This is an ESU locomotive. It's diesel, so that's just exhaust smoke pulling out of the station. If you look at this clock at the end of the platform, as I was telling John, it actually operates. It's an analog clock, and it uses the smallest button battery I've ever seen in my life. I had trouble finding one. Okay, we've got a BR10 steam loco coming in. This is a Trix loco. It's actually one of my older locos, but I love the sound, and I love how it works. And when it pulls in, keep an eye out for one of the passenger cars. I'll point it out. I'll point it out with the cursor when you see it coming in. It's this one here. It's got 2 servos, lights, and a speaker. So watch the doors. Lights on.
Isn't that cool?
And the rear door also open.
That's really neat.
This door closed. That one's still open. You can't see it. Conductor. He yells out in German, all aboard. Then that door closes. And off we go. And actually, I could control the doors on either side of the coach. And this is one of the ones I kept. It was just so cool.
And these are stock, right? They come like that from the factory?
Yep. And flawless in operation. It has its own digital decoder, sound, and 2 servo motors and lights. Speaker underneath the bandstand. Is the volume okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Watch the beer drinkers. Can you see them? These guys.
There's one guy lifting his mug.
Yep.
It looks like me.
Okay. This tree just got chopped down. Birds flying around. Okay. I also had an end-to-end trolley track, a little special DC system from Tam Valley Depot. It really worked great. You could adjust the intervals of stopping at the mid and end stations. You hear the cathedral? Did you hear the cathedral there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. House on fire. Sooth smoke generator. Did you see the VW bus going by? That's a remote-controlled HO scale vehicle, not sold in the U.S. The company that makes it, Carson, is afraid of U.S. liability and being sued.
Well, he wasn't going to stick around for that fire either.
Right. This is one of my favorite locos. If you look at the shape, notice the operating pantographs. And if you look at the shape, the Germans call this crocodile. And I think I saved almost all of these freight cars because they're just so neat. This is actual real hay here. These are actual rusty metal plates. Yeah, I did keep all of these. They're in a box in storage. And here's a demo of the crocodile. You have to imagine that I have catenaries that the pantographs connect to. So you can't see it too well, but underneath the chassis are blue-white LEDs that light up when you stop to simulate sparks of the brakes. Notice the pantographs going up and down based on direction of travel. I just shut her down. operating maintenance of way car. Pantograph up. Watch the operating work platform once we stop. This is an operating crane that won an award in the 90s for best digital model. It's got DCC but not sound. This is really cool. This is another ESU vehicle. It's a maintenance of way car, but it actually will tell you what your maximum speed is, what your maximum distance of travel is, and a few other things. Here's a demo of the maintenance of way car. Here we go with the platform. You got to imagine workers on there maintaining the catenary. And I should have folded the safety railing up and put a guy on there. Sorry about that.
We'll forgive you. That's cool.
So here's that maintenance of way car. You can see operating lights, interior lights. Again, maximum speed of the last run, average speed of the last run, distance of the last run, and how long the last trip was, hours, minutes, seconds, and the track voltage at any given place where you stop. And I've had friends use this to measure the scale miles of their layouts. Okay. This is a operating Fleischmann turntable. This is one of my favorite locos. If you look at it, there's no chuff chuff sound because the exhaust smoke is driven by a turbine into the tender, where these fans and vents on the side cool the exhaust smoke so it condenses and they don't have to stop the water so often. And I was looking for this for ages because it was made by Marklean 3-rail and Trix 2-rail, but I just couldn't find the 2-rail version. And then I was in a model train store outside of Copenhagen, a very big one, and they had one on the shelf just covered with dust. And I got it for a good price. Gave it a good dusting, took it apart, removed old caked on grease, re-lubricated it, and boom, worked like a charm. And ESU even had a good sound file for it. And those fans on the tender are digitally controlled.
Oh, that's cool. That's not something we see every day.
Yeah.
Again, very unusual logo. I kept that one. Let me go back one sec to point something out. Oh, that was it. In the roundhouse was a red loco.
Uh-huh.
That's the only German cab forward ever made.
Huh.
Okay, let's take a look at England now.
Yeah.
All right. And I think I have to crank the volume up for this one.
Volume maximum.
So I'm going to pause this for a second. This is the English Channel. This is the White Cliffs of Dover. My brother made all these models. He was a master model maker. He passed away a few years ago, but he made some very nice models for me. I made this one. It's a plastic kit, but I'm very proud how it turned out. This is actually by Fowler. A lot of you may have heard of Fowler.
Yeah.
Make a lot of kits, yeah. White Cliffs of Dover, leftover pillbox from World War II, kids train spotting. Notice the fountain?
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I'm going to pause for a second.
Uh-huh.
We'll go back and look at it. A lot of people ask me, how does that work? This is just a clear piece of plastic with a motor underneath. It's got flutes cut into it, and it just rotates. And there's a little motor underneath, and it looks like the water coming down. That's made by a German company called Weissmann. They made that operating clock I showed you earlier. We all know Rapido. You mentioned it earlier, John. Rapido also has British outline, and they have a British company. And some of you may have the Broadway Limited operating water tower. This is the British version. Did you hear them talking in British?
Yes.
Okay, I've got the volume up at max. Sorry if it's too low. This is probably the nicest building I ever made. It's a Prozis kit from Turkey, of all places. And they advertise this as HO/00, but it's really 00. And it comes with, I added the lights, but it came with the animation, with the doors, moving doors. Okay, this is a little toy-like. John said it's, a lot of this is like a toy train versus model trains. This is an operating coal dump. Actually, you can push loaded coal cars up here. This elevates, dumps the coal in here. Then the conveyor belt brings it down to here. Okay, we're pulling into my British station. Take a look at this. This is an operating digital train display, HO scale and fully programmable. I'm going to pause for a second. This is a very interesting locomotive, and it's actually made by a Canadian company called KR Models. I don't know, and this is actually an experimental model. It's a GT3 from the 50s. It's gas turbine, and it's built on a steam frame, as you can see. So while we're here, I'm going to see if you guys can see this. John, can you see this loco okay?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Looks really good.
Okay, this is what a typical British diesel locomotive looks like, okay? And they used to name their locomotives. This one is called Western Sovereign. So this is like a standard British diesel loco. So I'm going to show you something else. Put that over here. Now this looks very similar, right?
Yeah, hold it up a little higher. There we go.
So that looks similar, right?
Yes.
Right.
Look at the coal load on top.
Oh, can you hold it higher?
Yep. Look at
Yeah,
the
there you
coal.
go.
This is a steam locomotive. It was built in the early 50s as a last gasp to try to see if steam could compete with diesel and electric. And it didn't work. They were building 6 of these. They scrapped this one after about a year, and they stopped the production of the other ones. But very interesting model. One of the main reasons they scrapped it was that the fireman who shoveled the coal was in the middle there, and it was unbearably hot in there, for one thing. Number two, there was no door on the other side, so if the loco fell on that side, the fireman was trapped. That didn't go over too well. There was also some uneven weight distribution, and bearings were burning out too fast. So it was an experiment, didn't work, but I just think it's fascinating that on the screen you can see a gas turbine experimental loco on a steam frame, and here's a experimental steam locomotive on a diesel frame. And this one also comes from the Canadian manufacturer KR Models. And
Irwin?
Yep.
Did they have a cab at both ends on that, or is it?
Yes, they had cab. Nope, the cabs at both ends, but the fireman only in the middle. And even with the door, it was unbearably hot.
Yeah, I'll bet.
They put the guy they didn't like as the fireman.
Yes, not a good job. And the union didn't like it too much about the safety hazard. Okay,
the safety issue.
Yeah, and of course today none of the government regulators would approve it. Okay, so let's keep going.
Okay, we're back.
And this is really neat. This digital display. It was fully programmable. I programmed all those screens. And when a train came from the right, there was a sensor, and the screen would change to say train approaching. Track number 1. So I had also one for track 2. This is what a British diesel sounds like. This is made by a company called Sutton Locomotives Works. It's a class 24, and this is probably my most sophisticated British sound locos. I'll pause that just to mention something. The British have really figured out how to get a lot more than 28 functions out of throttles and out of DCC systems. For example, on that loco that I just showed you, if you hit 1 and then another function, it's a warm start. If you turn 1 off and hit the other function, it's a cold start. So you have 2 starts, but just with 1 set of functions. So they were able to figure out how to get a lot more out of these digital locomotives than just 28 functions. So pretty sophisticated. Now approaching is an A4 named Mallard, very famous locomotive. It's pulling a measurement car made by Rapido, and it's the world. This was the world's fastest steam locomotive. It measured 126 miles per hour, 3rd of July, 1938, and it's a record that still stands today. And that model was made by Dapol, and it's all metal, and it's metal chassis, real heavy, real nice. Now, finally, we'll get to our United States tour. This is the special relationship bridge. My brother made these models. Actually, I made this one. In fact, it's the only model I made that ever got an NMRA Achievement Award. So we've got a British Class 117 diesel multiple unit crossing that bridge into the U.S. Notice the operating lighthouse. That's a Walters kit. Okay, this is a Fowler kit. It's showing the drive-through showing Casablanca. It's a normal DVD player that goes in there, and actually it's a screen. The player's underneath. You can see all my buildings there. Okay, I've got a New York Central holding a rake of pacemaker cars. This is a J1E Hudson. It's an early Broadway Limited that still has quantum sound, but it works great. These are crossing gates by a company called Z Stuff for Trains. I could never get them to work right. I sent them back several times, and I just lived with it. If you notice, this crossing gate already went up way too soon.
Whoops.
But they had sound and lights and went up and down, but not always at the right time. And all these buildings you've seen, I don't have any of those buildings. They've all been sold. Hundreds of automobiles, hundreds and hundreds of people, all sold, mostly on eBay.
Don't feel bad about the crossing gates. I've seen them doing that in real life.
Okay, that's at least the pickup truck waiting isn't really going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, the Walters turntable, actually made by Helgen in Denmark. I don't know how many people know that. This is a Walters Proto 060. It's USRA. It's going to stop at the water tower. And this is the Broadway version limited of the operating water tower. Earlier, we saw the British copy. Notice the operating oil rig in the back. That's a Walters Grand Central Station in the background.
Are you so cute?
I'm sure everybody's recognizing a lot of these buildings.
Yeah.
And I had buttons on the fascia, labeled buttons where visitors could press the buttons and operate everything. This is the far end of my layout. This is an MTH GG1 with operating pantographs. It's pulling the Congressional, and as a boy, every Christmas time and Easter, I would go on this train from New York City to Washington to visit my favorite aunt and uncle, and I would be on this train. And even though my mother couldn't afford it very much, I loved to go to the dining car, so she always took me there. So this is the exact consist I took as a boy, and I remember walking alongside that GG1, massive. Okay, that was the tour of the U.S. And interestingly, you saw the GG1 with the operating pantographs, and that's made by MTH. One of the reasons that, for example, ESU with their operating pantographs didn't want to sell in the U.S. is because of threats of lawsuits. from Mike of MTH, who claimed he had a rock solid patent on any operating pantograph on a model train, no matter how it was operated. And whether that was true or not, he definitely scared the TSU from entering the market with their logos. So we're going to take a look of a tour around the world, my world, my model world. So we're starting off in Germany. I still have two of these display cases in my office. So we're crossing the lift-out bridge. And this is a British Fowler pushing a camera car, which I'll show you later. I just love the sound. This was an operating haunted house with sounds and ghosts. Miller lifesaver sign. Now we're behind my downtown American scene, largely modeled on what is Glens Falls, New York today. That was near where I lived in Lake George. Coming up to the Y, the lighthouse, going on to the special relationship bridge. Now we're in England. I'm going to pause for a second. See these buildings on the left? Like a lot of ones in the UK, they're made out of card. And if I didn't tell anyone, you probably wouldn't have known that. These are paper kits by a company called Metcalf. And the way they've built them, it really adds a lot of three-dimensional. So we'll take a look again. Those are card. These are all card coming up. And of course, these are half relief for the background. But a lot of this engine shed, that's card. Single box made out of card. Company called Metcalf. Now we're going to go down into the tunnel that goes underneath the English Channel. That's going to take us from the United Kingdom to Germany. Operating windmill up ahead. They weren't just in Holland. They were in the UK. They were in Germany. Those are Fowler kits on the left. You can see my display cases. And again, I have two of them in my office here in California. I just love the sound of this Fowler. It's a British steam tank logo. All right. And then the last video on the original presentation just shows my command and control drawer. I had everything in one place. This is a Tony's from Vermont DCC Specialties ramp meter. At any given time, it showed voltage and also how many amps were being drawn by the steam locos. Well, by the DCC locos. I had my command station, my 5-amp NC command station. I had two different power packs, one for a separate bus just for all the points. They were all tortoise point motors. And then I had another one just for the accessory bus. I had 3 buses. And this is an interesting product. It's from Australia. And it basically is an interface between my command station and the track, or in my case, between the command station and the radio antenna for my radio system. But this allowed the system to use iThrottle on my iPhone. So I could use my iPhone to control the layout on a Wi-Fi basis. It was basically, I guess, a Wi-Fi router, but I could also use my regular NC throttles at the same time. So it was very, very convenient having everything in this one power and command station drawer. All right.
Nice.
All right, thank you. So that's it for the tours, and we will finish this up now. So just a quick commercial. When I was selling everything. I sold some stuff at model train stores, model train shows, local, but most of what I sold was on eBay. And even though it was kind of heartbreaking to sell everything, I still kind of had fun doing it. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to have room for a layout in California. What are other ways to stay in the hobby? And one of the ways was to become a dealer. And I took those videos around the world tour using this product called the iTrue camera train. And subscribing to British train magazines, I saw an ad for this years ago, and I bought one for myself. And a lot of friends really, really liked it. They wanted me to borrow it and bring it to video their layouts and what have you. And then I contacted the owner and said, "Hey, my layout's being torn down. I'm interested in doing more. Do you have a U.S. and Canadian distributor?" And the answer was no. So I contacted him, and for the past year, I've been an official model train importer from the UK. And there's my website. We've got quite a few unique products. But let's take a look at how this iTrue works. This is the one that took the videos you saw around the room. So there's the iTrue. This is on a friend's layout in Saratoga Springs. It's the Milwaukee Road. It's been on the cover of Model Railroad twice.
Hey, Irwin, the volume of the train's a little bit loud. Can you turn the volume on that down slightly so we can hear you?
How's that? So you can see what's being videotaped by the train that's being pushed through around my friend's layout. Milwaukee Road. It records sound and it records video. So that's the iTrue camera train being pushed by a Milwaukee Road steam loco.
Do you know offhand? I have a video question about that. What is the resolution of that camera?
It can be 725 or 1080.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah, and the sound quality is really nice too. So it's not self-powered. You push it or pull it with a train. Sure. And it records the video onto a high-speed 32 gig SD card, which is included. And then you use the enclosed standard USB cable. You plug it into your computer, and it automatically will upload the files and recharge the battery on board the camera car. So it's really cool. All right, so epilogue, February 2024. As John mentioned earlier, I'm now living in California. We moved here last summer. The main reason is our only grandchild, a boy who turned 5 actually yesterday. I got to change that. He's now 5. As of today, he's 5.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And our 2 sons live in Culver City and Pasadena, and they're not moving back east. And the layouts had to come down to make the train room into a multi-purpose rec room to get the house ready to sell. So I had everything stripped off the bench work except for the track work. And 4 friends from the Hudson Berkshire division came over with Sawzalls. And it took me 19 years to build, came down in 3 hours. Oh, and likely I'll never live in a house again that has room for a layout. So this is what it looked like with the tabletop stripped down. And in fact, my 135-foot Walther's US turntable was the first thing I sold. And when that came out and there was that big hole, that's when it really hit me that the layout was coming down. And it took many, many months before everything else came down. So my friends came over when it was like this. 3 hours later, there's the layout in back of my pickup truck. And for you guys on the West Coast or in Florida, wherever you may be, this is called snow. And we had lots of that upstate New York. And here it is a half hour later in the transfer station in Lake George in the dumpster.
Wow.
Heartbreaking.
It is. I saw that big hole where the turntable was, and I'm thinking that must have been a lot like the hole in your heart.
Pretty much, and to a large extent, it's still kind of there.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to see more, those of you who are in the NMRA, there was a 16-page spread in the August 2016 issue of NMRA magazine. And I've also got a Flickr page that people can go to and see more videos and more photos. And again, if anybody wants to contact me, if anybody would like copies of my editable copies of my instruction sheets, I'd be happy to send them to people. So, John, that's it.
That's really cool. I want to thank you for sharing this, because, we tend to focus, I think, a lot more on the prototypical railroad modeling and not so much this sort of whimsical. What you had there, to me, seems like a really interesting mix between prototype stuff, but also toy trains.
Yes.
So, and I think,
and the nice thing is the way you really captured the atmosphere to get the change of place idea across. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like, for example, all the automobiles or trucks rolling, motor vehicles in Germany are German vehicles.
Right.
Same thing in the UK. And all the vehicles were on the correct side of the road in the UK versus
Good point.
Germany and the US. I don't know if you noticed it, but the vehicles were on different sides of the road.
That's really neat.
Yeah, something I've noticed, guys, is that the Europeans with their model trains do stuff that we just don't do. I've seen one of those Roco cranes, and I don't remember where it was now. I think it was at a train show, and someone it's coming back to me where it was. I just can't remember, but they were playing a game with it of controlling it to do some work, like actual work that a maintenance of way train.
Yeah, we've done that. We've used that crane to re-rail a boxcar that came off the rails.
Yeah, that's what they were doing. I wish I could remember where I saw this. I've been to so many train shows and layouts. I just don't remember. Maybe it was a club. I just can't remember, but I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Germans and the Brits are doing a lot more with DCC rolling stock than we are. We just focus on locomotives. I forget who makes it, but there's a modern profile German steel coil carrier that has sound and a motor, and the roof, which is telescoping metal, it telescopes closed and open with the sound going.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only comments that we've been having on here are just oohs and ahs about how cool everything was. So
thank you. A good memory.
Yeah. No. So refresh my memory. On any of this, did you have to swap out trucks to make it fit HO gauge track, or is it?
Nope. Everything ran, whether it was German or British or American, it ran on all the tracks. The only thing interesting was that, of course, in the US, I had standard Katie knuckle couplers. In the UK, they have much more old-fashioned hoop and link couplings. And then in Germany, there's like 3 different standards, but none of those would fit the British or the American. So I could not run, I couldn't mix consist of American and German or German and British, whatever, rolling stock, and they just wouldn't couple together. Unless a lot of the newer ones had NEM pockets. So theoretically, I could have pulled out the couplers and put, let's say, for example, Katie's on both ends. But, even that would have been a push for me to have German and British and American rolling stock in the same consist.
Yeah, you could have made a transition car.
Yeah. Yes.
One at one end and one at the other. Yeah.
But what would the point be? I mean, don't you, in a layout like that, don't you want the French train to stay, German train to stay German and the UK train to stay right? I mean, Now, I do have a question, and I don't remember hearing the answer to this question. Maybe you covered it and I just missed it because I'm controlling all the stuff over here. But what made you choose those specific countries?
Oh, well, it was, again, inspired. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was inspired by Miniature Wonderland in Hamburg, Germany, that had all the different countries. And in my case, American, of course, I'm American, and I remember steam trains from when I was a kid. But we lived in England for 5 years. I worked for a British company. So I was riding the British trains, went to some really fantastic preserved railways and model and real train museums. And then in Germany, I went there so many times on business and as a tourist, and also rode the trains. And so that's always interested in German, British, and American.
Got it. Yeah, actually, I could have put that 2 and 2 together, but hearing you explain it makes more sense now.
Sure, no problem. Yeah.
So, and someone is reminding me where we saw the crane. It was in Greeley at the meet and greet. Remember Sparky was on earlier talking about his YouTube meet and greet? It was on the Colorado Model Railroad Museum in Greeley, Colorado. Someone had that Roco crane and they were doing that challenge of controlling the crane to re-rail the boxcar. That's where it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it really isn't. The only thing missing is sound. So maybe someday they'll come up with a newer version that has sound.
Yeah, that would be cool. Also, you know what I've seen, and this was at a train show, I think in Sacramento, and I believe it was Roco again. It was a maintenance of way vehicle that looked like it was replacing ties or something like that. It was or maybe it was a tamper. I don't remember, but it was a maintenance of way.
I'll tell you what it was. I had it.
Oh,
it was actually made by Wiesmann.
Okay.
And it had, I think, 3 or 4 motors in it, and it had 3 proprietary decoders, and it was a tamper.
Okay.
And it would have a normal operating mode at normal speeds, and then you could go into the tamping mode, and all sorts of lights would, flashing, safety lights would come on, and the loco would very slowly go ahead. But as it was going ahead, a separate tamping mechanism underneath would go forward, then stop and go, and you'd have vertical tampers going tamp, tamp, tamp. And meanwhile, the locomotive would be catching up to it. And then the tamper would go up and go forward again, and then drop down and be tamping in place until the loco caught up with it. And then it would go up again. And it had all sorts of really nice sound effects, but that was very modern. And actually, that's one of the few locos that I sold for a lot more than I paid for it.
Yeah.
You couldn't get it anymore.
Someone's mentioning named CMD Models is saying that Weissman and Markland make the moving tampers. The one I saw was Markland. That's what it was. Okay,
mine was Wiesmann.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the Wiesmann one is probably a little bit more sophisticated.
I guess so. It was maybe more modern because I never saw the Markland version.
Yeah. Well, it was really cool though. I remember seeing it going, oh, that's an interesting thing that you don't see every day, right?
Yeah, that's one of the ones I sold. When I started selling everything, initially it was kind of easy because I wasn't selling my favorites.
Yeah.
And then it's okay. I've gotten rid of only 25% of what I have, and the other 75% are all favorites. I can't keep everything. And then it got really tough. And that was one of the ones that went.
Yeah. I mean, I could see how it'd be hard though, because you'd want to keep it, but do you really want to move it and then not be able to use it? I mean, it's better probably to have it find a home where it'll be used and someone else can enjoy it. Right. So
yes. And also it was really pushing the envelope on my time scheme. It was really a modern loco and what I was kind of trying to keep transition era.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always a model that's too cool to pass up. Right.
Yes, so exactly.
I think everybody watching can relate to that.
Yep. Oh, yeah. It's something you need to have, but you didn't know you needed it till you saw it.
Right. And then the other bad part about that is when you see something like that, you better buy it because you'll never see it again.
Yes.
So it's a really nasty catch-22, I guess. Right. I guess that's one reason for people to come up with an era and a region and a specific thing that you're modeling so that you're not tempted by those models that are too cool to pass up.
Right. But there's a lot of nice stuff out there, and it's getting nicer and nicer and more detailed and more technical. It's just cool what's coming out now.
Yep. Well, sir, we're not getting a lot of questions. I think that the presentation really does speak for itself, and I'm really glad that we were able to do this today because
that was fun.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for organizing it, John.
This would have been a really cool presentation for that convention, but I'm secretly glad that you didn't get to do it at the convention because more people will see it now here on the channel. If you'd done it on the convention, you might not have wanted to come do it on the channel. So I'm selfishly glad that we were able to do that.
Okay. Well, I may do it at the next regional convention.
Good.
Not the one in Irvine, but the one that's going to be up north.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, there's another one happening next year, I think, in Rohnert Park. So
yeah, I think that's the one I'll plan on coming to.
Oh, good. Well, that'll be nice. Maybe we'll see you there.
Right. And actually, I was thinking of doing a make and take.
Oh,
with some of those Metcalf card kits. You know, I could find one that would kind of look like it would fit in an American layout, and see if people would like that as a make and take clinic.
Well, I know that people do enjoy the make and take stuff because, you can go to the convention with nothing and come home with something.
Right.
And that's pretty cool. This is interesting. This CMD models person seems to have a lot of information, and he's he or she is providing more information about the difference between the Markland and the Weissman. And apparently Weissman was involved with the tooling for the Markland project. That's interesting. And then he says that the original Weissman tamper was something from Keebri. I don't know.
Keebri makes plastic models, buildings, but they also make some rolling stock. So Weissman bought Keebri.
Okay.
And then they took that basic plastic model and built it and put in the electronics and the motors and the sound decoder and what have you. So your guest there is quite correct. It started off as a Keebri kit.
Nice. We need to find out who this CMD models person is. Do you know? Is this someone you invited, Irwin? Or
no? Don't know.
I don't remember seeing the name here before. Well, interesting. Maybe someone who'd want to come on as an expert on all the history of the models. Who knows?
And maybe that person can send me an email at my address here so we can connect.
Yeah, let me put it back on real quick so people can see that one more time. Right. Irwin Nathanson at fastmail.fm. Excellent. Cool. Well, sir, I'm going to make that go away now. People who are watching this on the replay can certainly pause this and get your information again.
So I'm closing my PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Now I can see you again.
Thank you. We can see you again. I think I look better when you can't see me, though.
Oh, no.
Well, any other questions from you, Murph? Or
nothing else from me. I was a little bit curious at first about, did you try removing any of the track before you tossed, or was it?
It wasn't worth it. It was all like Atlas stuff, flex track and, Atlas turnouts. It wasn't, worth it. It wasn't like Shinohara turnouts. It wasn't like something like Scratch built. It was just, toy-like track.
Well, there goes that sponsorship from Atlas I was after. Was just Atlas,
Hey, it was rock solid though. Never had a problem.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. And that's a perfect cover, right? That you really saved it. But I was going to say, just in case people are watching in Atlas, if you're watching and you're going to do the big sponsorship, at the end it says that the guests' opinions don't necessarily coincide with ours. So we have a disclaimer for that.
Except the opinion that the track was rock solid and reliable.
Yes, we definitely.
Over 19 years.
We agree with that. Yeah.
When I ripped out my last layout, I kept all the flex track, and now it's being used in my staging areas because there are a lot of ties that got damaged and that kind of stuff, and I wouldn't really want to have it on the main line anywhere where it'd be visible.
Yeah, we of course we harvested all the tortoise motors,
right,
and the reversing loop modules and those kind of things.
I know a lot of people use that code 100 stuff in hidden trackage, like you're saying, Murph. I guess that's in a way staging sometimes is kind of hidden. It's not on the main layout, right? Where you're seeing. So, but yeah, very cool. I'm impressed. And to be honest, the first time I saw that presentation, I wasn't as impressed as I am this time. I think I just had so much. I don't know if you realize this, but when we did that virtual convention, I edited all of the presentations. So I edited your presentation as such as it was, to put the title at the front and, to make it ready for presentation in the convention. This time I got to really watch it and see all that sort of animation. And there's something about those live loads that you were showing coming up on the conveyor belt. I thought that was really cool. One of the layouts that I operate on semi-regularly uses live coal loads, live rock loads. And I thought that was a really cool thing because the person who owns the layout, he used actually Tycho models, because when you go to the place where you dump the rocks, there's a way to activate the discharge gates so that the stuff comes out. and nobody else made that but Tyco.
Yeah.
So you can have a serious operating layout and do things like that, but you still have to use the so-called, lesser models to get it to work, because they're the ones who are, and I'm not saying that anything bad about models, or model manufacturers, but I think that there's kind of, at least with some people, sort of a stigma that goes along with that. Oh, it's toy trains,
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, if it has flanged wheels and people enjoy it, hey, I mean, who's to judge any of that, right?
Yeah.
It's
But
a hobby.
there's ways to take those old toy Tyco rolling stock, weather it, put on, replace the plastic wheels with metal wheels,
Yep.
put on metal knuckle couplers. There's ways to upgrade them and still have the operating, the neat operating features, but make them a little bit more prototypical, a little more realistic. I once bought probably Tyco, a caboose with a searchlight, and it was amazingly toy-like. But I bought it just to see if I could make it more realistic, and I repainted the yellow plastic deck black. I replaced the rails with much thinner, more realistic looking safety rails.
Yeah.
I put glass. There was no plastic windows. I used a slide cover glass for the windows inside the caboose. I put an LED light in instead of an old yellow light bulb in the searchlight. And it was amazing before and after, but I did it just for fun to see how I could turn a toy like that into something more realistic.
Yeah. And that actually describes these rock hoppers that we use on Glenn's layout. They have been upgraded and metal wheels and weathered, and they look really good. And the most important thing is they operate the live loads out of, into the rock dump. It's a scene where they're building a dam, and there's actually a layout tour video on this channel. That's the Sierra Railroad or Sierra Railway 1929, I think, or 1939. I don't remember the exact date, but if you search for Sierra Railroad layout tour on this channel, you'll find it. And you can see the live loads operating. It's really cool. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
And you saw the highlights of the animation. There was even more.
Yeah. Here's a musing for you. Joey's wondering how easy it would be. He says east, but I'm sure he meant easy, to strip out functional aspects of toy-like trains and install them into high-end models. To me, it almost seems like these companies, I'm sure this isn't what they did, but it seems like you could do that if you're a super nerdy kind of electronics guy, and you know how servos work and all that kind of stuff. I could see how you could take a toy-like or a toy train type thing and turn it into a really cool, like that crane model from Roco. It would be easier just to buy the crane model, to be honest, but it would be kind of a fun challenge if that's what your enjoyment is in the hobby, right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
many aspects to the hobby, and nothing's wrong, nothing's right.
Hey, I always tell people, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. If you're having fun, you're doing it right. So anyway, Irwin, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time today. And like I said, really enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you.
I'm sure that everybody watching did too. And I'll make sure to get the link to you so that you can share it.
Maybe I'll see you at Eurowest at the Hiller Aviation Museum next month.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. You said that you're coming to that.
Yep, I'll be exhibiting for my British importing business, but also I have 3 boxes left of German buildings and rolling stock that I just ran out of time selling back in New York. So I'm going to try to sell that at the show too.
Well, maybe we should put a little plug in for that here on the channel. You kind of did, but let's give people more specific details. Eurowest is held at Hiller Aviation Museum. It's an annual event, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so do you know what days it is this year?
I'll tell you in a second.
I think you told me in the email. But...
Yeah. It's run by the European Train Enthusiasts.
Right, ETE.
It's a special interest group of the NMRA.
Okay.
And they have Euro East, which I've been to many times at the gigantic train show in Springfield, Mass. For anybody who hasn't been to that show, the last weekend in January, it should be on every model railroader's bucket list. It's by far the biggest real model train show in the world. Anyway, the Hiller Aviation Museum is Euro West It's European model trains, and it's July 12th and 13th.
Okay. And I believe that the admission for that is just the admission into the museum.
I believe so.
Right. And by the way, Hiller Aviation Museum has a lot of really cool displays, exhibits, and it's part of an airport. I believe it's actually the person who owned or started Hiller. Obviously his name was Hiller, but I think that was part of the airport at one point, because they were I don't know if you know this, Irwin, but I read some of their exhibits. They actually manufactured helicopters and airplanes
there.
Yeah, at this place. So it's backed up to a general aviation airport, and you can go outside and watch the airplanes, take off and land all, if you like that too.
Yeah, well, I plan on getting there early to see the museum. But my field, by the way, since 1990 is air traffic control, communications, and navigation systems. That's what I do.
I didn't know that.
I represent manufacturers and are offering their products to the FAAs of the world, and in my case, to the Air Force here too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
but only part-time now.
Yeah. Well, we learned something else new today.
Yeah.
All right.
About air traffic control.
Yeah. Well, it's just a different form of dispatching, I guess, right?
In one sense, yeah, but three-dimensional.
Right.
And the vehicles move a lot faster than the fastest trains.
Right. They don't come in on tracks, so you
Right.
really do have to pay attention to where they're going.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Irwin, and
My pleasure.
We'll bid you adieu, and I will talk to you sometime in the near future, perhaps at Hiller. And
You gotta make it.
Thanks so much.
Thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks a lot, Irwin.
All right. Okay. And then it was just us, Murph.
Yeah, that was a fun and different presentation. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm always talking about, well, that's something you don't see every day. That was something you don't see every day. And
That's
I really enjoyed it. My friend Kevin Hill, right?
Yeah.
He does this Markland stuff and he does this American Flyer stuff. And there are a lot of people who are railroad modelers or model railroaders who would look at that stuff and kind of look down their nose at it. And I'm telling you, though, not to, because they have a lot of really cool stuff that they do. And
well, I saw Kevin the other day had updated his layout. I think it's is it 2-rail O or is it S? I can't remember.
American Flyers S scale.
He'd added ties between the ties that are so spread apart on that track. And I was like, oh, this is actually beginning to look really cool now.
Yeah.
In comparison, it just brought it up a level, and I appreciated that. It's cool to see.
Yeah. There's also, and it's a layout tour on this channel, and I always forget his name. Tom. Oh, it's right on the edge of my mind. It's Tom. It's a pretty common last name, but anyway, this guy lives up near Mariposa, and he has a 3-rail O. So it's a toy train layout.
Right.
But on this toy train layout, he's populated it with, weathered cars. There's some scratch built rolling stock in 3-rail, right?
Uh-huh.
So you can model in any scale or gauge or whatever you call it. Oh, why am I not remembering his name? It's Tom. Oh, I hate when this happens. I have that disease, Murph, CRS.
CRS?
CRS. You
What's
can't.
that?
Tom Davis. Sparky got it.
Can't remember stuff.
Can't remember stuff. Right. That's the one I have. Can't remember stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom Davis. So if you look up layout tours on this channel and search for Tom Davis, it is a really cool 3-rail O gauge, right? Model railroad layout that has a ton of really cool, detailed and weathered, rolling stock, engines, locomotives, weathered buildings and structures. It's just my point to mentioning this is that to show that you can do anything, you just have to, enjoy it. And this is the link. Yeah.
Yeah, the big thing is that any layout can teach you something
Yep.
if you watch it, and you'll go, oh, I'm gonna shuffle this into my bag of tricks now and maybe try that a little bit later on. So
Right. Stick that in your back pocket, as I like to say.
yeah.
So very cool. I'm going to make a note that I'm going to add links to our description here for Tom Davis. If I can get a pencil that works here, I'm going to add descriptions to or links to our descriptions here for Tom Davis and for Glenn Sutherland, which is the other layout I was talking about that had the live loads. That way people can click on the links later.
So where are you going this weekend?
Actually, this weekend, I don't have my calendar open here, but next week, we're going to go to Santa Clarita and go see our mutual friend, Mike Osborne.
Oh, wow.
Mike Osborne has an HO scale layout that we're going to do a layout tour of. And I'm probably going to bring down some of that Grecian formula for him because he has a thing with this Grecian. We have an ongoing joke about Grecian formula.
I see.
But yeah, so we're going to go see him next week. And while we're there, we also have plans to do a video about nonverbal communication on the railroad. So the setup is going to be there. I guess there's some place that he knows of where they have some railroad equipment, and I'm going to have a camera probably, 100 feet away, and then have a microphone on Mike where he's demonstrating the nonverbal communication a conductor would give to an engineer, for example. So it should be very interesting. We're still kind of working out the details on how to make that video happen, or, what the setup is going to be to properly demonstrate what he wants to show. But it's knowledge that we're going to preserve because they have radios now, and people, right? People, I think they still have to learn it in case the radios aren't working. But that's knowledge that's going to be lost to time if it doesn't get documented. So I'm really excited about being able to preserve that.
That's great.
Yeah. So isn't there an open house happening at Silicon Valley Line sometime soon? I seem to remember.
Our open house was last weekend.
Okay.
And so, yeah, our next thing, as far as a club activity, we'd originally scheduled an op session for 2 weeks from now. We're putting it off a week or two because of prior commitments by James and several others that really kind of are instrumental to getting the whole remote ops thing going and all that. So we're going to, in the week and a half from now time slot, we're going to do a fun run for members just to be able to go down and play around down there.
Nice.
So yeah, on Friday I'm having a lunch with the Benton group. What would we be? Veterans or whatever. Benton group was a railroad group of my friend Griffey. He had a layout in his garage that we decommissioned about a year and a half ago, but we still get together on Zoom and that very often, usually about once a week. Sometimes, we have people not make it each time, but anyway, we're all having lunch together.
Nice.
Friday evening, I'll be at SVL, and we're doing our rewiring of the top level, trying to simplify it. We're trying to get we're putting circuit breakers into every block, and we're going to be putting in detection on the top level of the layout, which we haven't had, which will be really great for me as a dispatcher. I spend so much time with Train 77. Where are you? It'll be nice not having to do that anymore. And then on Saturday, I'm going to Rick Fortin's for an op session. So I've got kind of a busy time.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. So this weekend, I would be going to Rick Fortin's op session, but the Bay Area Prototype Modelers Meet is happening.
That's it. Yeah.
Right up in Richmond. So in case anybody's interested, Bay Area Prototype Modelers is an annual meet. It always happens on sometime in June. I think it's like the third Saturday or something like that. So we're going to be going to that most likely. And, it's one of those things where you show up and you know everybody there. It's almost like a family reunion or something, because these are people that we don't see except at, we call it BAPM, right? BAPM, Bay Area Prototype Modelers. So if anyone's interested, you can probably go to bapm2025.org or something like that, or search for Bay Area Prototype Modelers Meet, and you'll be able to find the information of how to get there and what the hours are. But it's this Saturday. So, if we happen to come back home early enough, maybe we'll stop in at Rick's and say hi.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway,
Dakota's coming from New York to be at our lunch with Griffey.
Oh.
And I don't know what other activities he has planned for the weekend.
Oh,
so that'll be kind of fun seeing him again.
Yeah, maybe he'll be at Rick's.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mentioned to him that I was going to be at Rick's because he's going to end up staying here for the weekend.
Oh, cool.
Place to crash.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that'd be really nice if he could make it, if he could get slotted in there. So how about that Patreon thing?
What Patreon thing?
That you have. To support the channel. Right.
Hold on. Let me put
I have to remind him. If I don't remind him, he doesn't do this.
Here we go.
There we go.
Murph, I'm bad at self-promotion and I hate asking. And frankly, people are probably thinking this was planned, and this was not planned.
No, I do this, Tom.
As a matter of fact, I completely forgot to even run one of these things the whole time Irwin was talking because I was so enthralled with what he was showing.
There's that.
Yeah. So let's talk about Patreon for a second. Now watch the viewers go completely dropped, right?
Yeah. Here we go. Oh, he's doing this again.
Yeah. Patreon is a website where it was created so that people could help support artists. And I realized at one point in, I guess it was 2018, that what I do here is a form of art, right? Because editing videos and producing videos, there's a lot of art involved because you have to figure out, timing for the edits. And I shoot everything too. So I'm out there shooting a video and there's composition in that. So I thought, I'm an artist. So why don't I have a Patreon page or Patreon presence? So I started one in 2018. And actually, one of the first people I told about this is sitting next to me here on the screen. And I said, Murph, I was thinking about starting this Patreon thing. And what did you say, Murph? Do you remember?
I think it was something like, well, it's about time.
Something like that.
And then you said something about, well, what should I give him for this? I'm like, you're putting out videos every damn week. Sorry. Yeah. It's like, you're giving them plenty.
Yeah. And it's a funny sort of dichotomy because you have YouTube that's free, right? You have to watch ads. So how free is that? But here you have someone like me who's been doing this now full time, really for about 10 years. No, I've been doing TSG multimedia and video production much longer than that. I started in professional video production in 1998. And I started the YouTube channel. I recently got an email from YouTube saying, congratulations, it's your anniversary. And it was in 2007 when I started the channel.
Wow.
And you know what? I'm going to pat myself on the back here for just a second, Murph, because two really cool things happened. This is what I mean. I am not a self-promoter, or else I would have made a special video commemorating 70,000 subscribers, which I think happened today.
Awesome.
If it didn't, it's about to happen, maybe during this show. I don't know. But the other really cool thing that happened is, and I got to find it. I think I have a graphic for it. Oh, I already got rid of it. Hold on. I already got rid of it.
Well, it's on Facebook somewhere.
Yeah.
Book of Faces.
Cool. No, I found it, but the one I have here shows information that's no one's business. So the other thing that happened, and I think it's really cool, is that the Yosemite Lumber Company logging inclines video that I put together with Jack Burgess about 3 or 4 years ago hit 1 million views. And it's the first video on the channel to go over 1 million views. And how cool is that? I never thought I'd have a video on this
That
channel.
actually is really great.
Yeah. So maybe I'll have to put a link to that too. Where'd my pencil go?
Sorry for my typing, by the way.
Oh, that's okay. You know what I should have talked to you about is that clanking ice bucket that you put up to your face during the show. It makes a lot of noise.
That's okay. You ever drink from either a boot or a yard of ale?
I don't think so.
So a yard of ale is a long tube with a bulb at the end.
I
and
thought
the
that
idea
was
is
beer
to try
bong.
to what? No. Well, you fill it with ale or beer, and you drink it like this. And the trick to it is not to have such a rush that you end up with the entire bulb in your face.
Right.
Of beer.
Right.
Well, this finally hit the ice sticking to the bottom of the cup thing, and then I put it up and ended up with everything rushing down. And I don't know if you can.
You got
it
an
was
avalanche.
Special. Yeah.
Yeah. I call that an avalanche.
Okay. So yeah, that was great.
Oh,
anyway,
funny. Man. Well,
So anyway, congratulations on the 1 million view video.
Yeah, how about that? I never thought that would happen. That was something that, well, I mean, I thought it would someday, but it was always, someday it'll happen, and it finally did. And it's kind of like these events in the calendar where I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's still a few months away. Oh, that's still a month away. Still a few weeks away. And the next thing you know, it's happening.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the NCE 101 video to hit 10,000, I think, or so that we did.
Well, the host on that one was a little suspect.
So anyway.
What we need to do, Murph, and I've been meaning to talk to you about this, is we need to build me a DCC in the box. So I need to get a list of what I need.
Okay.
Because you've made the DCC in the box and you gave me that NCE thing that I have sitting in my office still. And I want to do a DCC in the box. And if I don't do it like with someone, I won't do it. I just won't get around to it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So maybe we can talk about
We
that.
should see if we can do a compact one rather than my whole toolbox.
Sure.
I don't know, whichever way you want to do, it'd be fun.
Yeah, we can discuss that off the air. But I
Yeah.
think that would be something I need anyway, because I kind of need an alternative to my JMRI that doesn't always do what I want it to do. And I think that the DCC in the box, besides being an NCE system, also will give us an interface with JMRI too. So
right.
That would be useful. So maybe it should be a DCC in the box that just has alligator clips that go out to a track of any scale. You see what I'm saying? Because I do all this different scales, right? So.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, we will talk.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. And everybody,
we have ideas.
Yeah, everyone who's still watching. Hey, thanks for still watching. What they're really doing is they're just waiting for Heath to go live.
Ask for the next project, the DCC in the box.
Yeah,
put them up.
DCC in the box.
Right. Okay.
Yes. We're going to go now, and I'm going to let people know that Heath usually in about 22 minutes, am I doing the math right? Yeah, 22 minutes at 6 p.m. West Coast time, 9 p.m. East Coast time, Humanity Junction goes live generally. So I didn't see him on the stream today, though. So maybe he's not going live. I don't know. But anyway, check out Humanity Junction, and we're going to go now, Murph, and hang out for a minute so that we can talk after we're done doing this.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
See you guys next month.
Yep. Thank you. Here we go.